Hello, good day. Welcome to another JavaScript video. In this video, we'll be looking at how to design a little game to shoot down asteroid. So it's just going to be something very simple that you should be able to do, more like what a beginner can do with JavaScript. Once you've covered all the topics that I've done from JavaScript 101 to JavaScript 13, you should be able to attempt this game. So it's a very simple game that allows you to shoot down asteroid. What I'm trying to do right now is to build the HTML structure of how the game should look like. First of all, let's build the background of the game. Right now, I'm specifying the HTML document in such a way that it's going to have the height of 100 and it's going to overflow. When it overflows, it's going to be hidden because we're going to have a very long place to deal with because of the design that we want to do. I'm trying to create a kind of a radiant feel to our background in such a way that it would look as if we are looking at a sky, kind of a universe kind of a feel. So that's what I'm trying to come up with here. And I have like parameter to specify the two colors, the ones that will be like the outer shell and the one that will be like the inner shell of what I'm trying to do. So I think I will do this, and let me change the other color there to something different. Let's use this color for now. So going back to the HTML page, we can then start to go into action and create a kind of stars, because now I said in my previous video, I'm going to design the stars myself in such a way that it's going to be animated. Of course, I'm not going to use the JavaScript function to create this because it's going to slow down the game that we want to do. So let's just let CSS handle the animation of the stars. So I'm going to be talking about animation effects that you can do with CSS. So I have this batch 1 and batch 2 stars, and the reason why I have them in batches is so that we can have some group of stars animate over another group of stars. So I'm creating this. Let's use an ID instead of what it is now. We want to specify the width of each of the stars. And by the way, each of the stars will have several, as I've said, I'm creating more than one stars. That's why I call it batch. The design I want to create now will give it the illusion of having so many stars in one go. Creating this effect, and I'm specifying the animation property, and this animation will allow the transition of the stars to move in the way I want it to move. So the animate stars is a function kind of that we have to create in CSS. So I'm creating a keyframe. This is to allow me to animate what I want to do. So when you are animating, you will specify from where you want to animate to. So I'm saying that you should transform, you should translate, the y-axis to minus 2000, meaning it's going to start from 0 to minus 2000. And I think there's a typo here. The translate is not spelled correctly. I think that's gonna come back to bite me later in the future. So right now, if you spell the translate correctly from your end, you will already be seeing some animation. But because I didn't spell it correctly, I went ahead to continue what I was doing. I later saw that that was an issue. So having this background shadow gives it the effect that I want to see, but that effect is not visible right now. But what the background shadow does is to give shadow to a already made property, which is the width 10 and height 10 that we did. So what I want to do right now is to duplicate as many shadow as I want, but now in different location. So look at what I've just done here. I've specified shadows in different location just by using one ID. That's one element. I didn't need to create as many elements as possible. I just used one element and I was able to create this shadow. So look at this now. It looks as I'm changing the width so that you can see where the element is and then see the difference. So in fact, I can even create more shadows, by creating another alternative element, which is star dash batch dash 1 after. So the next thing is for me to focus on is the batch 2 to create alternative stars, because I want to have some solid stars like with 2, and then I want to have another stars that are pretty much smaller. That's why I'm creating those batches there. Then this being 2, it will then have a deeper fill. So what this gives you is the illusion of the fact that there are some closer stars and there are some stars far apart. That's what the delusion will translate to by the time you finally see the results. So the same thing, I'm also still calling the animate star. So if you notice, you will see some stars are deeper and some are lighter. So that's the one with 2 px, and then you see the other one with 1 px. So some are larger than the other ones. So this is where I'm trying to figure out why it is not being animated. So right now I've updated the transition animation, and you should be able to see the stars moving. So now that we're done with the stars, the next thing we need to go to figure out is how to bring in our spaceship. So here I have the ship GIF already on my system. I've already downloaded it from the internet. There's quite a lot of things you can get down there. So I need to style my ship in such a way that it will be visible. So I'm bringing my ship in, specifying the left location because I want to be able to manually move that ship, anywhere on the screen. So this is the ship that I got online. I want to then, rotate it because this is not the way the ship is going to look in the game. I want it to be facing upward in such a way that I can then shoot my asteroid coming downward. You can have a design like this anyway if you want to, but for what I'm trying to do, I need it facing upward. Now I need to bring the ship downwards in such a way that it will be in a position to be shooting the asteroids that we want to do. You could get a better image, a proper fighter jet or something better that has a gun cannon, and then you can shoot up. But this is what I got. You guys can use something else. So I think I will just get rid of this radiant. It's not giving me what I want. So I just have a specific color. I can just make it a black sky. So I think that's more easy to work with. So just trying to test the speed of the stars that we have. So just to show you that you can actually maneuver all the settings that you have to give you a kind of different design, just depending on what it is you want to see. It also shows maybe how fast your ship is moving. You can use the stars to, give the illusion that your ship is moving, very fast. And this can also be achieved in other gaming environments. Maybe if you are doing a carries or something that requires movement. Most of the time, what moves is the environment, not really the object. So the environment moving is making it look as if the object is moving. You need to be able to know how this works so that to help you to build other games that you want to build, especially if it's a motion game. So let's now figure out how to move our object, because right now we just have the graphics done. So let's bring in our ship into JavaScript so that we can, we'll be able to control it the way we want it. I want to use the mouse to actually control the ship. That way is easier. Of course, you can use keyboard to control the ship. I just think for me it's faster to use the mouse. But you will notice that the distance for the mouse is not dead center. So we need to make it dead center in such a way that our mouse pointer will be directly on the tip of the spacecraft. So the next thing is for us to create a firing event. I want to use the spacebar to indicate that we are firing. So here is I'm checking if the key is equal to space. That's actually indicating spacebar. So once that is done, I can call a function called fire bullets. And that function, of course, I've not created it. It's just to create a placeholder so that I can go somewhere else and start writing my fire bullet function. So before we fire, of course, you want to fire a bullet. Let's start the bullet, the way the bullet is going to look like. So let's go out to the HTML page and create the element. So what I want to do is I want to be able to have ability to shoot multiple bullets. So I can kind of create a container to hold all my bullets. So that's why I'm having this. This will hold all my bullets, and I can create a sample bullet in such a way that we can see how the bullet will look like. Remember that we want to do it in such a way that the system will be able to generate the bullet itself. But before you do that, we can just have a visual representation of how the bullet will look like. So you can see one bullet there. That's how a bullet will look like. So you want to also say by default it should not show, because your bullet should not be visible by default unless it is fired. So we need to go to our JavaScript to go and start calling our function to fire the bullet. So you need to hold the bullet case, more like the houses that hold the bullets. So I can just call these bullets. So this holds all the bullets. So it's like a container that holds all the bullets, but it's not the bullet itself. The bullet itself will be created on the fly. Immediately you press your spacebar, what should happen? A new bullet should be generated upon pressing on the spacebar, and it should be fired upward because we're supposed to target, an asteroid. So what you then do is that I'm going ahead to append the bullet I've not created, but that's fine. I'm creating a new bullet which I've not even created. So let's go ahead and create our new bullet. So when we do this, the next thing we want to do is to make sure that we add the class to it, and that class is bullets. What you've just successfully been doing is to create a bullet and appending it to the bullets container. The next thing is you need to change the style so that it can be visible to the user. And to do that, you just change the display property to be block. We need to be able to set the default location of the bullet, because if it shows where should the bullet be, the bullet should be immediately in the belly of the spacecraft, because it's supposed to be originating from the spacecraft. So we need to know the current position of the spacecraft to be able to set the position. So we now have something we want to use now, and that's called get binding client rect. We used this in the previous video. So you can see that we assign the ship location to the new bullet style, and immediately you do that, you can see that we are having our bullet, even though it's not directly underneath the ship, but it's giving us some distance from the ship. So it's actually producing the bullet underneath the ship, which is okay. That's what we want to actually achieve. So the next thing we want to do is to project the bullet upward. And this is where we need our set interval. So to set the interval, I use let TID. TID is our kind of a timer so that we can stop the interval when we need to. So that's why I'm initiating into a variable and I'm running it every second. We can change that later. Let's change it to the top so that we can use the top property of the bullet to push the bullet upward. So that means we will be reducing the top section of the bullet as opposed to be using plus. So we're going to be using -10, and let's give this a try. So voila, it's working. Another thing we need to focus on is that remember that any bullet you fire, you are creating a kind of problem for yourself. You need to be able to terminate the bullet when it has gone past the screen, because as you will know, set interval is not something you want to mess with. You want to make sure that whatever you are creating set interval for has a period when it will end. So therefore, every bullet we fire, once it exits the screen, it should terminate. So at the point where you have it -200, we want to remove the bullets. You are removing the element itself. And the next thing is also you want to stop the interval of what is happening. So we use TID that we have created to clear interval. I'll pass the TID into it. So this will make sure that the set interval is properly destroyed. the new element also is properly destroyed. So you can see that our bullet is moving very rapidly and in a normal progression, and we will never have any issue with this code that we've written because we are making sure that our set interval is being clicked and our bullet that we are creating is being destroyed when it leaves the screen. The next thing is to create the asteroids. The asteroids will also look like the bullets. You have more than one asteroid that will be raining from the sky, down to the spaceship that you have there. So the same method that we use to create the bullet, we are going to use something like that to create the asteroid. So I'm also going to create a sample asteroid. I have the container that we group all asteroids as asteroids, and individual asteroid we have class called asteroid. Okay, so we can give you the test by just firing our asteroid that is just looking helpless there. But that's fine. I'm just making sure that I can fire that asteroid. So the position of the asteroid does not really matter because we'll have that updated automatically from the JavaScript. It's supposed to be generated dynamically. It's something that should just appear. It should not be predictable. So we need to be able to generate an asteroid from when the game starts. So we have another event here, but we'll say every time the program loads, we should be able to send down asteroids from the sky, and we can specify how many we want to send or the number of asteroids that will just be limited to this game entirely. So now I just created a random function called send asteroids, and well, that's what will happen by default when you load the game. So I can go ahead and create that function, and what that function does is just to check the asteroid that is there before and then send asteroid down to the user. So if by any chance the code gets run, what happens is that it makes sure that there's one more asteroid that has been added to the list. So that way our code will terminate once the asteroid is less than 3. The next thing we have is to create a new function, and what that function does is to actually create the asteroid itself. Okay, so you can see that our item is being displayed. We have 2 or 3 items, but they are being put close together. So I need to be able to style it differently. You can see that the 2 green are sitting close to themselves. So we need to create a lot of distance gap in such a way that we can see the 3 items, so that when it does a random, it can randomize really, so that you can have those items displayed in 3 different places. The next thing for us to do is to bring this asset in. We want to be able to make it visually appealing in such a way that we can change the box that we have there into a rock. I didn't design any of these things myself. I just go to Google and then search for all the assets I need. Even the plane that you saw there, I just got them on Google. So you can be very, depending on how imaginative you are and what you want to do, there will be the asset online that you can actually use to be able to design what it is you're looking for. So for me, I'm just looking for a rock right now. So I have all those assets that I've gone to copy. I can just copy maybe two, I'll maintain two of the rocks and we can just get started with that. And you can have as many assets as you want. Those assets are supposed to make sense to you and to the user, and they're supposed to fall in line with your game that you're trying to build so that it will look interesting at the end. Before we use JavaScript, I want to use CSS to style the image first. Because when you use CSS, you get to see the feel, how it's going to look like. Then later you can worry about doing it with JavaScript. Because if you don't have it programmed first, you will not be able to use CSS to be able to, you'll not be able to use JavaScript to be able to do it. So this is a sample image I'm using already. I'm using the rock one that I have, and I'm specifying the position, how the rock is going to be placed inside the div that we have. And then I'm testing all the two rocks because they need to come out well. So we need to figure out how to make it come well. So there's a function we can use on the background size, because the background size is very important, and you know that you can have different assets and their sizes. Since you're not the one that creates it, you will be limited on how how the assets will look like. So there's this property you can specify under the background size, which is called cover. And what that does is that it makes sure that the image that you have just stays inside and covers the elements that it's being surrounded about. That's under the background. So we just use background size and we specify cover. So that works for the two image very well. So at this point, we need to specify the rock type. You know that we have two types of rocks that we have. So we need to be able to dynamically pick one of the rocks at each time. So you can see that we have different rocks, and this will help you to generate. If you wanted to do more kind of rocks, you can always do that in your own sample. So this is how the game is supposed to look like. We're supposed to be shooting these rocks right now. But of course, the next thing is to detect collision. So let's go ahead and program the system in such a way that it should be able to detect once the bullet hits the rock. That is one of the most difficult aspects of this game. How to detect that the bullet has hit the elements. Our code that detects collision will be added when the object is moving, at the point of when the object is moving, and that is under fire bullet function. Yeah. So at the bullet of fire bullet, so we need to so it requires us to pass in the bullet because I want to pick it somewhere else to go and process it. we need to be able to know all the asteroid that is out there and loop individually on each of the asteroid and check if the bullet has collided with anyone. So what I'm doing here now is I'm getting all the asteroids. That's line 88. I'm getting all the asteroids. And in getting that, I'm now running a for loop. That's for any of the asteroid of all asteroid, because now I'll be returning the object. I need the object. I need to be able to know the position of any of the asteroid here. So this code is running every time the object moves, get all the asteroids and start looping through them. Now I have two positions of what I want to deal with. I have the position of the bullet and I have the position of the asteroid. Very important. Those two guys are very important. And they are going to be what I'm going to check if those asteroids has actually hit each other. Changing this function to say check bullet hit. And that's what I'm calling here directly. So, and this one is way easier because there's no point doing check again. I just say bullet hit. So if bullet hits, what should happen? So if bullet hits, I want the system to do quite a lot of things. Number one, I need to be able to destroy the asteroid. That's the important thing to do. But to destroy the asteroid, I want some animation to go on. I want to be able to create a kind of effect that will make the user believe that it has really been destroyed. So I want to be able to change the background to an explosion, which I have the asset already. I have an explosion asset, interestingly. And this asset also, I got it online. So you can get quite a lot of things done online. That is where my error is. So that needed to be a plus. So if I run my test, I can see an explosion that is actually working. That is what I need. So, but of course, that is just a first test to make sure that I actually have a hit. So there is quite a lot of things I still need to do. Having a hit is not all I need to do. Having a hit, I need to do other things. I need to be able to clear the asteroid completely, and also you know that it's being generated by someone. And I also need to set timeout to when the asteroid will be removed and create a new asteroid. So the idea of creating timeout is such that the asteroid can have the time to show us the animation, and then after the timeout, then it can remove it completely from the system. It will remove the element completely from the system, and then we can do other things like clean up and generate a new asteroid. So our game is working kind of a little bit well. For now, our new asteroid is being generated when we destroy one. You can see the next one coming immediately we destroy one is coming, but we are far from done. We still have quite a lot of work to do. Our asteroid even needs to be, coming at us. That's another thing. So let's go ahead and make some modification to our code in order to have more realistic effects. So right now we want to be sending the asteroid down on us. So you agree with me that there are still more things to be done here in this game, because there are still scoreboard to keep in to do. There are still collision of the rock with the spaceship, which I did implement. You might want to implement that once the rock hits the spaceship, it should mean game over. But we didn't implement that. This is me testing a bunch of rocks to see how the game will perform. I'm just trying to test to put the game to a lot of stress. This way you can use it to check if your code is working the way you've planned it to, and if it can actually handle stress tests. So let's increase the asteroid to like 15 and see the results. So this is the number of asteroids raining down on us, and then I think it's working pretty well, but I think it still needs some updates to be done. So let me increase it to be something more to see how the game will handle it. Let me check some other things. So I think they're still close by themselves. Okay, so I've increased the distance between each of the asteroid. So they are two packed together. I've given them quite a lot of distance. So they shouldn't be showing too close together, kind of. Thank you for staying to the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on bell notification in order to be notified when we release new videos. See you in the next one.